along those lines, I want to talk for just a few minutes about quantum understandings and how our mass consciousness is such a powerful creator. And to the extent that those that wish to control the populace behind the scenes of the government have constantly used different techniques to manipulate so that we go into fear, we go into any of the negative paradigms, whatever that might be. And they're afraid of our power. And when we step into and own the amazing power of our creatorhood, the divine creatorhood that we are all part of, it's huge. And it was so important, at least in my understanding, in 2012, we as a humanity removed the largest veil on the planet that slowed down our manifestations because of the fear. So in other words, we are manifesting 100 times faster than we did prior to 2012. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Like, look out. Like, be more masterful.
And one of my favorite words is what you focus on expands. And if you're going to focus on love and light, that's going to expand. If you drop into a judgment, get out of it as soon as you can. You're human. You're going to drop into maybe an old pattern or something may trigger. But get out of it as quick as you can.
Don't run it very long. Yeah.
That's right.
Don't run it.
And there's been a huge amount of information out there, whether it's The Secret when it came out a number of years back or whatever, about creating and manifesting. But it's just important, more than anything else, to recognize I am a creator being.
We are creators.
What am I putting out there?
And our unconscious are creators. So if we don't transform the unconscious aspects, they're like little creators. And so in the Quest 7-step process I developed so people can do their own inner healing journey, in step 2, number 1, you identify, okay, let's say you're angry or upset, and you see that aspect of you and you get a visual image. So now you can dissociate enough to where you can work with it and help transform it rather than being the anger and letting it run you, okay? Which is the shadow self running you. You can come back to your authentic self and be in the position of power and then transform this aspect. So then in step 2 is like, how have you been? So you've been in my psyche, you just got triggered from what I just watched in the news. Now you're outraged and screaming. How else have you been affecting me on every level of my life from the unconscious? So now you get to have a little peek in of how your unconscious has been affecting everything. And I go through it, like mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, health-wise, financially, in relationship-wise, and career and destiny. And it's mind-blowing because I've been doing this for a long time with people, all walks of life and backgrounds. And when you start hearing how the one aspect that just got triggered from the news and is running you has been running the show quietly, and why your body's breaking down and why you've got relationships like this and financial constraint, it's mind-blowing. And when we transform these aspects, and let's say they're operating, they've been breaking down our lives and causing suffering, and so right before the session we're on one path, and there's going to be a lot more try and hassles in these areas. You transform this aspect, and it's always in a group now because we're transforming so much at once. What happens? You transform it back to the light of your divine self. Now it's its full potential self divine, not shadow self operational creator being destroying your life. Now it's bringing beneficence. It's in the Adenic consciousness. It's a magic genie bringing in beneficence. And what's happening is you have left this path and you have leapt onto a new timeline. In a half hour, 45 minutes of your session, you are not the same person and you are not on the same timeline. You will not have the bad things going on that it in its little cluster group would have created. Now it's going to create positive. And I've done this work for years, and I've seen how night and day you have a relationship dynamic or a financial thing going on or some horrific health thing, and you're doing the pieces and all the inner work, and all of a sudden all that is swept away, almost like the Twilight Zone, and you're in a completely new reality. And now beneficence. Now that relationship that was so difficult for 7 years is resolved. Now a health issue, I've cured 3 incurables of myself. I've helped others with countless things that were impossible, unchangeable, or thought to be irreversible, and be transformed, even like deformities and things like that. Because when we shift the inner, the outer shifts. When we do the inner work, we jump onto new timelines. When we do that, we're bringing our family line and all of humanity with us. And now all humanity, from each one of us doing inner work one time, is now on a completely different trajectory, going into a more beneficent future. And so what I see with this sacred work we're all doing, and there's so many modalities, everyone can have their pick what they love, but as we're shifting the inner, what we're really doing is redialing the planet, like we're getting into a time capsule and redialing to an Edenic, amazing future that I've seen over and over, because I've taken many journeys into the future to take a look at, starting in 2012, how much are we changing the field and what are we looking at? Because I had the early visions of it all coming undone, like Casey and others did in my teens, and then I saw another trajectory. That was why we all came in, the unseen hand in this planetary destiny. And now I've been like watching it through the global forums, the global meditations, everything we're all doing. Oh my God, we are moving fast into a more glorious future. And this is a promise we gave ourselves. It's encoded within us, because every single person I've ever worked with, I found that code in them. I saw that they had the signature of the violet soul. They were encoded with a transformed future. They knew the template. They were here to embody the template. They were here to move out of these archaic systems within into that way of being that allows that to be a physical, tangible reality. So don't worry where you're getting triggered and who's doing it. Get inside, clean it up, jump onto your new timeline, graduate into the next level of your ascension into your true authentic self, and thank those people that are still in the unconscious playing out roles for you, so you can get triggered, so you can transform, so our planet can go into a beautiful Eden.
What a wonderful thought. For me, it's important to emphasize once again that one of the challenges in excellent material like The Secret is so much is still focused on, or that people played with, it's their, I'm going to have a positive affirmation. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's tremendous. But it's our total signature, which is the conscious and unconscious. And that's the part that you're talking about, that you've had such a level of success with your different books and other work that you've done. So let's take just a moment and mention your different books, and we'll show them while you're doing it, and some of the different things that are available that can help people. We'll throw those up and then we'll go into another subject.
Okay, thank you. I am so excited with what I've been able to bring out, because early on when I hit against suffering, and my mom became severely mentally ill when I was 19, so there was a switch over, lose mom, now you're the mom and the spiritual teacher, helper. It really struck me so deeply. It was the first time I really tapped into suffering. And it catalyzed my search, a grand search to find out why so much suffering on this planet to beautiful people like my mother and other people I was seeing around the world, beautiful souls. Why are they suffering? And I was like on fire to find the answer, and also to bring her remedies, to bring her things that would help and soothe and calm, and teachings and things like that. And it really put me on my destiny path as a healer, as a person that would become a researcher in the psyche and find out all kinds of amazing beneficial things and understand this planetary equation and who we are and what we are doing, and bring a lot of remedies and assistance to humanity. And one of the things early on was me doing inner work, and it was a natural gift. And I started doing inner work and planetary healing when I was in my teens, and things that I would see I helped transform. And later I was able, under divine sponsorship and a dispensation I was given after a lot of years of study and research and work in the psyche, I was able to bring out my findings in a way that would help other people do it for themselves. Because for me, I didn't want to just help everybody and have them dependent on me. I wanted everybody to have this so that all of us who had come in to fulfill our divine plans could have a way to quickly get free of this matrix so we could give our gifts. And I saw absolutely that most people didn't understand that if they didn't do that, that pretty much their lives would go as all the other lives had, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and you're just running patterns. You are fulfilling a fate dictated by the human conditioning, not by your true authentic self that wants to give its gifts to the world. And to give your gifts, you need to awaken, you need to get free, you need to be in your authentic self as much as possible and let that creator side of you create the divine perfection and bring out your destiny and your gifts. And so I was able to take sacred alchemy and put it into the quest, the 7-step process that anyone can do, and it's very, very fun, and it's like exploring outer space, as exciting on Star Trek and other cultures and histories and amazing phenomenon. The inner world's just as exciting exploration, yet it's all about us and who we are and why we're here and who we were before this life, before this, and what we decided and what's our destiny and what are these hidden talents and gifts within us, and all wanting to be birthed and come out and make a difference in this time and who we are collectively. So it actually taps you right into that. So my first book, I laid out who we are, what are the violets, what are we doing here, why is humanity coded to suffering, where's the remedy?
And the name of this book was?
Yeah, and where that remedy is within. It's called Earth 2012-33, The Ultimate Quest, How to Find Peace in a World of Chaos. And I give the sacred alchemy formula that became the quest, the 7 steps in there as a remedy, but also who we are, what we're doing here, the Saint Martyr programming, and all this coding, and a little bit about who are the violet souls, and a little thing you can read and see, are you a violet soul? And in book number 2 of the series, which was my next book out, and that one is Earth 2012-33, Time of the Awakening Soul, and how millions of people are changing our future. And that goes really into the violet soul and the 22 master signatures, which I'm sure anyone ever hearing this and watching it is a violet. So kind of fun to see all the signatures and feel like, oh wow, I'm part of an amazing soul group, and we're so many of us, and we came in for a high and holy purpose, and all the stuff I've been going through all my whole life and wrestling with this and that has a high purpose and a noble purpose, and I'm actually a divine being, not a poor human, suffering along for nothing, and a prison planet or a hell of that I don't even remember why I'm here. So it helps make sense, and that book starts the amazing violet stories that
So
people
we have
around
good
the
material
world.
to show them and
Yes.
let them play.
Yeah, and then there's 2 others in that series, even going into the dolphin ones.
And we'll show them too as well.
And the quest book, Heal Your Life, Change Your Destiny, so that focuses in. And the others, I have like 8 books and over 100 products of helpful self-transformation, life-transforming
So we have a lot to
offerings.
show them. And I'll show them
And
at the
healing
end.
music and everything.
But
Anything you ever will need.
I want to switch to some of the timeline stuff because it's one of my favorite topics.
I love
in
it.
the time we have left.
I love being a master, jumping on different timelines and stepping in the future and going way in the past and seeing all the histories and where we're going, and then checking in on the future and how are we all doing, like are we making headway. And I have to say, I did give the world a hypnosis journey I went on in 2012. The reason being, I've been on a lot of forums and a lot of interviews and TV and on these groups of people and thinkers speaking about relevant things, and so many of them, of my peers, were talking about the whole breakdown in 2012. Some were in absolute fear and terror, and I was like almost alone, feeling, going, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that this is the end and everything we've heard about is going to go to hell now, and we're going to be, trying to survive on hillsides eating deer and apples if we were one of the survivors. And so I just went, Bernadette, my best friend, who was getting into hypnosis, I said, take me in the future. And she's like, I've never done that. I go, just take me in the future, just key me in. I've got to go look at this. I have to see the future. This is just not feeling right, and I want everyone to feel calm, and I don't want people to be in this frenzy and fear anymore like they were at Y2K, whole cycle. And so I went in and I recorded it, and anyone can get it, My Journey into the Future, 2012 to 2033. And I saw more of who we are and what we were doing, but I got to energetically experience what we accomplished. And by 2033, Michael, I was crying in joy of what we had done, all of us together, and what all of this had translated into, and what the future was like. And still needed some cleanup, but for one, the developing countries had paved the way, had moved out of greed and avarice and taxing the people and burdening the people, realizing if we do programs to let the people flourish, and we make sure the foods have nutrition and people are healthy and their best selves, then they will be prolific in blessing this world. And that happened.
And I wanted to throw in just a few of the details around possible timelines, because there had been a lot of apocalyptic style of projections over the years, and one of them had been as much as another nuclear war by 2000, and that was averted. That was our consciousness shifting and making a choice not to do that, not dropping into fear in the manipulations. And there were manipulations from the false flag event of 9/11, and we can talk false flag all day long. I love that topic, but I won't go
really,
there.
because I think others have said it so eloquently and brought out the truth, and the truth is there for everyone.
But it's still,
that they want to find
it was averted.
Yes.
That was one potentiality
Yeah.
for Mother Earth. Yellowstone is a huge volcano, and one of the possible timelines had been it going active. And if Yellowstone went, the United States is gone.
It breaks up like people have seen.
But we've averted with our shifts. Now, it doesn't mean that everything's honey and roses at the present moment in time. We have a lot of work to do. But a lot of these big events have been chosen differently by our mass consciousness, and this positive timeline is much more of a reality. But there's another part to it, and the way I see it, or it's been explained to me by Spirit, is we're creating this timeline almost like walking in a path and putting a flagstone down right in front of me as we're going. And pick it up from there. What do you know of that literally how we're creating and manifesting that close to where we are right now?
We're actually beings of great attainment and light, similar to the other great illustrious souls that have graced this earth and came with their offerings, only we've come in the millions altogether. And we are masters at changing timelines, at transforming planets, undoing dark potentials, and resetting the divine codes in peoples and in the earth. We are doing a fantastic, amazing job. And before you mentioned that there are people still clinging to their citadels of dark power in the planet, I just have to say to that is all dark citadels are going to come down. So souls either get with the program or they're going to suffer the loss of what they're clinging to, believing in the old paradigm that you can only win and succeed by harming others, or some other dark play. And truly, everyone playing light to dark is being blessed in our time. Every single one is playing their roles, and everyone's transformation out of the deepest dark of how they've been being into the light of their divine self is important for the future we're all co-creating and the timelines we're shifting into. So we need to keep that in mind and not get into any againstness about anyone playing any type of role right now, light or dark, and to stay true to the understanding that what are we doing here? What are we really doing? We're terraforming a planet back to the divine keys and codes and destiny, because it is time. And we see that through the astrology, through the movement into the cosmos.
And it's not done in a day.
Through the awakening that's going on. We're doing it pretty fast here, because we got the numbers. If you think about how the world was, if you were born in the 50s, of what the life looked like on planet Earth, and everyone in their mini lives with their one little religion and their clothes only from their country and food only from their country, and now maybe we'll add spaghetti into American food, and we're being adventurous. To us, the violets, who came in as like, I like, Buddhic chants and all kinds of Mother Mary, rosary, and I like this and I like that, universal consciousness, clothing from all over the world, honoring indigenous cultures rather than they're savages like we heard when we came, or someone from another color is somehow bad, and doesn't have that divine spark and isn't, an illumined being really in disguise and human form. And all of these things where we brought color and light to this world, and look at how much we changed it, where things that were thought woo-woo are now commonplace and on sitcoms and commercials, for God's sakes, and goddesses rising and in commercials, as well as what we're seeing across the board. We have done so much at this time already. If everyone could just relax and realize it, and that we're all doing it together, and that we are masterful. Look at what we've done already.
But that's just it. The average person isn't allowed to see because they watch mainstream media.
Yeah.
And
that's
heard
a programming machine
I've heard it
to
from
watch
Spirit
that.
as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
where the way they would phrase it is, if you could see it from our perspective, the level of light that is on the planet versus a decade ago or 2 decades ago, it's huge. And
huge. The change has been huge.
I talk about the new children, and just numbers alone. One of the things I played with one time was how many people are dying and how many of the new children are coming in, because as I've always seen it, the Earth's contract to allow the what I call third density soul to come in. I don't want to call it a child. It just happens to be a soul that starts as a small human. But that's expired at 2012. And so only fourth and fifth density souls are coming in since 2012. And if you just run the math, how many people are leaving, there has to be a critical mass. Now, I've always seen it as about a 35% of mass consciousness of the higher vibration. And to me, we were at that, or very close to it right now. And it's like that big snowball coming down the hill that just gathers more and more momentum. And that's where we're at right now. And it's all positive, but we're still in a time frame of transition.
So there's things that still hurt and things to be moved out of. But we're getting so much divine assistance. We have assistance on every level.
Talk more about that.
Well, I feel very fortunate that in my teens I was awakened and started interacting with the higher realms of light, beings that from where we all came from. I later learned that are illumined. Many had graced this earth with their offerings and are known, others not, and great archangels and cosmic beings and masterful beings and angels, seraphim, Elohim. And I saw so much. I saw early on how much they are supporting all of us who came, and they stayed behind, so we came, and now collect together. We're co-creating this new reality, them above, us below, and that's why we're getting so much help, all of us. We all have our team of guides, if you want to call it, or sponsors. They are always there. We have our inner self. No matter how corrupted our souls have gotten, no matter how angry and messed up and ruined and wrecked, our spirit is never ruined, and we always have that inner voice and guidance system. We have the guides, we have divine beings we connect with that are, the more we're in our authentic self, the more we're in communion with the higher realms of light. We have fairy kingdoms and elementals who are so excited about our awakening, and they're helping us, and they want us to awaken, so because we're the master creator souls through our psyches here, and as we bring our divinity online, they then are the ones that anchor that and make it physical. So if you want a beautiful Eden, you will be working with the elementals because they bring it physical. We set the template, we bring in the consciousness, and they make it so. Well, look at how they're making things so through the unconscious way we've been, the storms, the ripping tides, the earthquakes. Well, as we transform, they're transforming, and we're co-creating with them Eden on earth, which they, the higher level ones, still live in. They live in the high consciousness humanity left. And now we're coming back. All the souls that you talked about are raising the vibration of the planet. Now everyone's seeing fairies and elementals that used to be thought, oh, this is a mythology. People
Because our vibration was too low to see
no
them.
one could see and partake of that kingdom. But you see now the kingdom of heaven, you could call it, the heavenly kingdoms, are being able to be lowered back down into the physical earth. And it's the same inside us. As we transform the shadow, our higher selves don't need to now be up a crystal cord far, far away from us. Now they're coming in and they're taking command of our bodies, our consciousness, our beings, our world, and they're, it's coming in physical. And that's the same with, and so as that happens, that element happens, bringing in that, maybe it's the seventh element, I don't know, of bringing spirit physical within us, so we're fully aligned and awake within this reality. So now we're very operational in our magical beingness and our powers within this matrix or this holographic video game thing we're all playing together. And then the elementals then bringing it down. So that's pretty much how it's happening, where it's a return to Eden. It's a return to the divine perfection, the divine matrix.
There's another part of this in the few minutes we have left that I want to throw back in, and that's the savior complex that a lot of the Christian religion has, and they're waiting for the next savior to come in. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the divine beings living. We are 100% divine and 100% human, having a human experience. And
Yes.
we are master creator beings, whether we know it or not. We're creating our reality, and we are the ones we're waiting on. And it's a fascinating time to be here.
And a big shift to now we can finally get things done. And I have to say, one of my most profound things and exciting discoveries I made in the psyche was I kept working with people that had the most impossible cases. They would find me. I didn't even have my sign out and I'm a healer. They would come. And I'd be like a Houdini / Sherlock Holmes figuring out their matrix to help free them. And so I just worked with everything, every kind of corruption, soul corruption imaginable, and the really hard cases and impossible cases. And every time I was able to help them come back to their self. And every time, no matter what they had done, no matter what they've been in, we found it. Eureka, that at the core of their being was their divinity, all intact, pure, like white snow. Their pure essence, their pure beingness, their enlightened selves that had never gotten corrupted. it made me just fall on my knees and cry at times to say that, like, we've all been lost in this maze and felt we were corrupted and wrecked at times. But to really find that it's not really true. We've just taken it on to cleanse it. The poor humans had always had to go through this for thousands and thousands of years, and now we've come to remedy it and end it and end suffering. That always, that self, that Savior, that part of us is intact and can guide the way to the promised land, and we can be free. We can be free of this, and that there's nothing dictating us suffering except for this programming, these viruses that got in the human computer system and had us created all the pain.
Wonderful. And with that, in our parting shots, how can people get in touch with you for either some of your products or for a reading or whatever?
Sacred tours,
how would you like them?
Sacred
and
sites,
we haven't even gotten to the sacred
and
tours.
Sacred retreats, transformation chambers.
And we will do another session
you
for
come
sure.
for 4 days and you know you've been there 9 years because you've transformed. I'll just Google my name. That's all there.
Is there a phone number you'd like them to use, or would you rather use an email?
They can just look up Aurora Juliana Ariel, and there's so many offerings through Amazon, on websites, and my newsletter I would highly recommend because I have ever new amazing offerings and sacred tours.
How could they sign up for the newsletter?
Yeah, they can go to theoracle.love and they can see everything and then go in and sign up for the newsletter, and then they will have access every month to amazing offerings and healing specials and incredible tours like the Ireland Mystic Isles tour coming up now. There's ever new places on the planet. We go under a great divine plan as sacred alchemists, working our magic and transfiguring at a rapid rate, so rapid you can't even imagine. So lots of beautiful offerings and lots of music, lots of free stuff on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Aurora Juliana Ariel, and endless healing music to activations from divine realms, divine healing transmissions. And one of the things I love so much that's been going on now, coming up in July of 4 years, is the Global Healing Forums once a month, where the Divine Ones and I help everyone on the planet, and massive healings, transformations happen because we open the doorway.
And they can join those. They can see that on the newsletter, and all of that
And
will be
they
there.
can sign up and be a part of it
Awesome.
every second Saturday of every month.
And that's an important aspect, because the mass consciousness,
It's
like
a
what
big-
we've been
yeah,
talking
it's a
about,
big healing.
these kind of global forums have
They're huge.
enormous power.
They're huge because our team who witness it all and we put it out, it's amazing. We all have inner sight, and so we talk about it afterwards, what we've seen, and we see like Elohim come and clean up big rivers of darkness and darkness in the psyches of humanity, and all these inner aspects getting transformed, and like a big ascension going on where they're coming into the true authentic self, souls being lifted of matrices, the DNA getting repaired and restored, activations of divine codes, taking out diseases, cleaning up Fukushima. I mean, it is amazing when we open that doorway and invite them in, and we've made ourselves ready as vessels of healing, and we bring our offering, which is all this unconscious stuff that now here's our next piece. Maybe I've been in sorrow over this. Okay, here's that. Someone else brings that, and it codes it in so they get into the psyche, and like a mass clearings take place, and immediately we're on another timeline. And that's not only through my work, but all the great people giving their offerings and doing meditations and big things on the planet, where each thing is so important to help transform our world, to avert the disasters, and bring us all our divinity online now, so that we're all prepared and we're living in the new world even before it's fully birthed.
Wonderful. And with that, I'm Michael Orwig. Thanks for joining us on The Wizard's Chest. Thank you for being here.
Hello.